Welcome in, everyone, and thank you for listening to the 207th ever episode of the Missouri Sports Podcast, brought to you by 106 Apparel and recording from the Revel Advertising Studio in beautiful Springfield, Missouri. I'm one of your hosts, Cameron Albert, alongside my good friend and fellow Mizzou fan, Kyle DeVries. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing glorious. Cameron, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
I gotta say,
yes, go ahead.
I've worn this shirt twice on the episode. I know not everybody is watching on YouTube, but it's a little bit embarrassing. It's also kind of cool, just like probability wise.
Yeah. That
I've only worn this shirt twice, and both times also you both are wearing it.
Yeah.
And we're just showing solidarity in our logo and really showing off the brand. But this is not planned, and we're really embarrassed about it, everybody.
We have some kind of mind virus that we all share. It's like connects us all mentally.
It's apparently. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw producer Cameron wear this shirt recently. I can probably wear it this week. Like, no.
The last time I wore it was the last time we all three wore it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like we got the shirts at the same time, and then like we're just thinking like, okay, we'll wait a little bit, and then I'll break it out.
We're using the same newness formula in our minds.
Yes.
So like, okay, 3 or 4 weeks is fine. We'll wear it, and then we're like, okay, we all wore it at the same time. We got to wait a bit.
Like, okay,
3 or 4 weeks. Okay,
now it's time to break it back out again.
On the same cycles.
Embarrassing, but what are you gonna do? We're connected that way. It's almost week 1. It's fast approaching.
It's so exciting.
Camp's like winding down. It's like practices. They're gonna start game planning for Louisiana Tech next week.
So awesome. We're basically 2 weeks away from the game 1 kickoff.
I was gonna just let the listeners know this. This episode's probably going out a little bit earlier than usual. Probably the next 2 weeks are going to go out a little bit earlier than usual. We're scheduling around some stuff amongst the 3 of us, and the first game of the season is on a Thursday night. We're going to that, so we'll be recording earlier in that week. So it's not going to be quite as consistent time-wise as usual, but we'll be here. Don't worry about that. Last week we previewed the offense, did all the player previews, talked about who was going to be the main contributors and who we're looking out for. This week we're going to do the defense, and then we're going to bring it all together and do a 7-on-7 draft. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Before we get to all of that, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, leave us a review on the podcast platform that you listen to us on, and you can support us directly on Patreon, patreon.com/Missouri Sports Pod. There's a few little news items. One interesting thing that's newsworthy of the last week is Mizzou Athletics is starting a new program where they're going to let students sell tickets or have like it's basically like an affiliate link where they can recommend other people buy tickets to Mizzou sporting events, and they'll get a 20% cut of the sale.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of an innovative strategy to try to boost sales and compensate the students a little bit for their efforts.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely is innovative. I don't know that anybody else is doing something like that. I don't know how much it's going to move the needle, but I think it's a cool way to potentially move the needle and also make the students feel important and reward them for putting in the work. And it's kind of fun. I feel like if I was a student, I'd be like, all right, like, try me.
Yeah, we've got at least one student in our Discord that will make an effort to try to use their link. But if you're a student and you've got a link to share, or however that works, if you got a promo code that we can use, leave it in the comments and maybe somebody will use it.
Yeah.
Do you think this is going to help fill up the stadiums significantly?
I don't know. I mean, is it a little concerning that they're having to like deploy the students to sell tickets? Is that concerning at all, or am I just reading into that too much?
Well, it might be a little bit concerning, if if you're selling out every game, you don't have to do anything like this.
Yeah.
There's no reason to give anybody 20% of anything.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit concerning. I don't know that this will bring in a few more fans. Maybe, honestly, the way I see this going is people that were going to buy tickets anyway might just seek out a student that they know or somebody to get their code to give them a little kickback. I don't know that this is going to drive incremental sales. I feel like it's going to, a decent percentage of this is going to be people that were going to buy tickets anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to get analytics on it because of that reason too.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we had 500 people use the affiliate links. So like, well, how many of those people were going to buy tickets anyway? Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
Still kind of cool.
Anything helps. Yeah, and I like it.
Cool opportunity for the students.
Exactly.
Get everybody involved.
And there'll be like, I feel like in any situation like this, there'll be like the outlier students like on the high end of where they're just like go all in on this.
Someone's going to make like $1,000.
Yeah, just like basically create a little business around like using their promo code or however it works. So, if you got to grind for
entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty cool concept. Other news, Mizzou football got a commitment from South Carolina linebacker Brayshawn Littlejohn. All-time name immediately.
Oh, yeah.
He is a 3-star linebacker, just committed to Mizzou, and a little bit under-recruited. We talked about him a little bit previously on the show. It seems like maybe Mizzou tried to close the deal with him before any other big players could enter the picture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. A little bit under the radar, but impressive film. At least really impressive in getting to the quarterback. It seems that was definitely his focus as a kind of an edge rusher, outside linebacker in high school. Like almost every play in his highlight film is just him, just a heat-seeking missile to the quarterback, which was still really fun to watch. Great speed, bends really well on the outside, getting around the edge, and I don't know, that's exciting. And I guess they want him to play inside though at Mizzou, so that'll be something that he has to learn how to do. And I shouldn't say slower paced, but I guess it is a little bit. You're not going around the edge like edge rushing or anything as much as like outside linebacker would, but so a little bit of a change for him. But I definitely like his film a lot and like his potential.
I think I read he has been clocked at a 4.5 40.
It's pretty good. Pretty good for a guy his size. He's pretty well built.
Yeah, definitely. Welcome aboard. Anything else before we jump into the defense preview? I thought maybe we could. I had a stat last year from last year's defense. We talked a lot about the rush defense, and so I just looked over the games last year, and it was really. We talk about like the first half of the season and second half of the season. That's pretty close to how it broke down. But the first 7 games, I did not include SEMO. Did we play SEMO?
Yeah.
So whoever we played like that last year.
Yeah.
First 7 games against FBS teams. The Missouri Tiger defense gave up 282 rushing yards per game. And that was dead last out of 130 football teams. The final 4 games of the season, and that was not those weren't cupcakes. That was Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, and Arkansas. I'm not including the bowl game. I think those were the last 4. They got it down to 120 yards per game on the ground that they gave up.
Yeah.
So definitely some improvement there. But that was I just wanted to, so they ended the season 120th out of 130.
Okay.
Still like 4 or 5 spots better than Kansas.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Well, that's important.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal to watch that first half of the season. I remember kind of like watching that first game against Central Michigan thinking like, wow, that was really rough. And it only got worse.
The Tennessee game, I think it was like 450 rushing yards allowed, something like that.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. that was rough. Elsewhere on the defense, I think they did an okay job creating turnovers. Some of the guys that have gone, Caleb Evans had a couple interceptions. Chris Abrams-Drain had a couple. Seemed like Jalen Carlisle was always making big plays. Martez Manuel was making big plays. So there were bright spots and promising developments over the course of the season, some good moments, but it was like we were never going to get over that start and just like that bad taste in our mouths that the defense was just atrocious at the beginning of the season. Yeah,
I agree. Definitely Chris Abrams-Drain and Jalen Carlisle are definitely two guys I think about that, if you had to pick guys that kind of broke out last year, you could probably point to those guys as coming from non-starters to all over the field and starting every game and making an impact clearly on the defense, but still just weren't consistent enough. And I think Carlisle maybe got injured towards the end of the year and stuff. So those guys are still kind of cornerstones of the defense moving forward this year. But for the most part, it's kind of just a disappointing year defense-wise. Jad Bailey came on there at the end, but some guys that had been in the roster already, in prior years, like Trajan Jeffcoat, Devin Nicholson, some of those guys, like they just didn't do a whole lot. They didn't have a good year, and Devin Nicholson has probably lost his starting job, and Trajan Jeffcoat, he's talented, and I think he'll rebound, but it was just disappointing is really the word I just keep thinking about for some of those guys.
There's like just a few players that were consistent all year long, and we'll mention some of them as we go through each position group. But what position group you want to start with? We'll get more specific with it.
I don't care. What do you want to do? Defensive line?
Yeah, let's go with the defensive ends.
Okay.
That group is, we're pretty much bringing everybody back from last year. I think I've got Jeffcoat and Isaiah McGuire starting, and then behind them, Johnny Walker is a sophomore. Arden Walker is a freshman, redshirt freshman. Travion Ford, redshirt freshman. Redshirt.
I think so.
I think maybe it's finally time that we see Ford get some snaps and see what he can do. But it starts with Jeffcoat and McGuire. I think they're going to be solid. We need to see more consistency. The highs that Jeffcoat has shown is everything you want.
Yeah.
We just got to see it more consistently.
I agree. I think they just got to turn him loose a little bit. And it was just so weird with all the issues with the scheme and everything. I think they were really kind of focusing on, which sounds even ridiculous to even say this out loud, but I feel like the scheme was built upon stopping the run. Obviously, that was the last thing they were ever going to do. And just I think they kind of got away from the edge rush, the meet you at the quarterback attitude, and that's what Trajan Jeffcoat does so well. And I think this scheme just wasn't, focusing on his strength, and it was just a weird year for him. But I think he's every bit as talented, every bit as motivated as he's probably ever been right now. Had a full off season, and kind of learning the new scheme with Blake Baker, and I'm expecting a big bounce back for Jeffcoat. I think he's had opportunities to go somewhere else, or to maybe even move up to the professional level after last year, and decide to just hang around and run it back one more time, and that was great news. So I'm excited about him. And Isaiah McGuire, honestly, is a super high ceiling guy. Loved him as a prospect whenever he came in a few years ago. Has gotten good playing time really throughout his whole career, and I think this is the year that he could really take off.
Both seniors, so it's kind of like their last chance to make some splash plays, and if they want to further their career in the NFL, this is the last chance to put together some film and get some production on the books for NFL teams. So hopefully they're able to do that. Behind them, it's honestly super helpful that we're not really losing anybody on the ends. We've got some of that elsewhere on the defense we'll get to, but I've got Arden Walker and Johnny Walker and Travion Ford as the guys probably rotating in most often. Am I forgetting anybody there?
Yeah, I definitely think Arden Walker is in that group for sure. I think he's been like surprisingly good, and they're gonna have to play him. He's too good to keep him off the field. I think he's gonna be one of the first guys that go in. I agree on Travion Ford. You know, he's had a Achilles injury that I'm not even sure I knew about, or maybe I did know about it a while ago, but he just hasn't. You know, he kind of had a little bit of a slow start because of that injury. But I definitely think you'll see him out there. Johnny
He's
Walker
still just
for
a
sure.
redshirt freshman.
It's crazy. It's how crazy how long it just takes these guys to integrate into the program and into the lineups and all that stuff. But 2 transfers I'll throw out. Tyrone Hopper is like a 7th-year guy from North Carolina. I definitely think he'll be working into the rotation. And then DJ Coleman is a guy that transferred from FCS, I think Jacksonville State, and was super productive at the FCS level. That's obviously a huge jump straight to the SEC. Might take him a little bit of time to get acclimated. And I'm also not 100% sure if he's playing defensive end or defensive tackle. But I'm guessing he's probably going to play end.
We've got incredible size.
Oh, yeah.
He's listed at 6'5", 264. Jeffcoat and McGuire both listed 6'4", 275.
Oof. Some beasts.
Yeah.
The depth for the defensive ends is really exciting, and I don't know that we've been able to say that in the Drinkwitz era.
No, not yet. And they still got to put it together
Sure.
and really show us over the course of an entire season.
Right. But if you got an injury, I don't think you feel bad at all about what you've got behind. And you know they're gonna, even without injuries, there's probably 4 or 5 of these guys will play a lot.
Yeah. And you know, when you win games that are toss-ups, you know, everybody always talks about it happens in the trenches, and what you need is to be able to put guys in late in games that where there's not a drop-off in talent.
And aren't tired.
Exactly, and have fresh legs.
Yep. I also want to throw out DJ Weslack, big-time defensive end that signed. He's a true freshman. I don't think we'll see him on the field at all this year. He'll probably redshirt, but something to look forward to in the future.
For sure. All right, moving to the interior with the defensive tackles and some pretty significant departures. Akale Byers, Kobe Whiteside moving on, and the big one, Mekhi Wingo.
Yeah.
I'd honestly kind of forgotten about him at this point.
Right.
Trying to put him out of my mind, but I mean, we can't talk about the defensive tackles without mentioning how big of a loss he is transferring to LSU.
Yeah. 3 big departures, honestly. 2 of those guys, you know, I love Kobe Whiteside, and you know, seems like just an awesome guy, but I just don't think he was getting it done, man. Like on the field, he just athletically was limited, super strong, base, but just short arms, and just it was not they just weren't getting it done. And I hate to say that, but them kind of graduating and letting some of the younger talent get in there is exactly what the defensive line needs. And Mekhi Wingo, unfortunately, that stings, man. He was I've never seen a true freshman defensive tackle make an impact like he did last year. So that was brutal that he left, and is gonna sting for a while for sure.
It's such a weird situation with him, because almost like if the upperclassmen were better, if we had a better situation,
He probably doesn't play.
He doesn't play nearly as much, and doesn't have that exposure, doesn't break out, and attract attention from LSU. Now maybe that would have happened down the line no matter what, but you'd like to think maybe a couple years in the program would have kept him around. But.
Yeah, he followed his steeples to LSU too. So I mean, you don't know if he has a spot though if he doesn't get as much playing time as freshman year.
True.
That's definitely the exception, man. You can't expect, especially he was a little bit undersized too. You just can't expect true freshman to come in and do what he did. He was really fantastic last year, and I'll kind of, with one eye closed, I'll kind of be watching what he's doing at LSU this year, and obviously I hope he does well down there, but it definitely stings from the Mizzou perspective. But I think we're doing all right. We got a really surprising transfer in Jaden Jernigan from Oklahoma State. Really productive defensive tackle from Oklahoma State, who was one of the a top 10 defense last year, which seems weird. They're Big 12. You think of like Big 12 teams being great in the trenches, but he was a guy that was super efficient, really, really strong run stopper, which, sounds like music to our ears, and just kind of wanted, they had a lot of depth there, and he wasn't playing as much as he wanted to, and sounds like he just kind of wanted to go somewhere to another Power 5 level school where he could be the star, and I think that he definitely has that potential. So super excited about Jaden Jernigan, and then I think the other guy that starts is Darius Robinson, and I think Robinson, he's been in the program for a long time, so I'm excited to kind of see him get his shot. I think he's dealt with injuries a little bit throughout his career, but super athletic guy, and has just been really consistent and has been good when he's in there. So I think that'll be a good 1-2 punch.
6'5", 295.
Yeah, he is. He looks the part, man. He is a SEC defensive lineman.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like that we're not quite as deep right behind those two guys as we are with the ends. Maybe not quite as interchangeable. A little bit more of a drop off. But somebody that you reminded me that has bulked up and potentially switched from in to the interior is Kai Montgomery. Hopefully he's healthy, and we can see him play for the first time. And who else? I've got Realist George there, coming off the bench probably, and coming off the bench. That just sounds like basketball.
Yeah,
like
sixth man.
Yeah, it's the same concept for football, but I guess we don't really.
Yeah,
say
they're just rotating in and out more,
yeah.
But yeah, definitely. Kai Montgomery is. I would say it's pretty safe to say he's playing defensive tackle at this point. I feel like I saw a picture of him a couple weeks ago, and it was like, oh my goodness, he was already a beast, but man, he looks like a D tackle now in a good way.
Yeah, he's up to 6'3", 285.
Yeah, and so he's coming off the ACL, so might have a little bit of a slow start, but you'll see him in there for this year for sure. It's super talented.
Again, still just a redshirt freshman.
Yep. So he's got time to figure things out. Doesn't need to start. Doesn't need to play a ton right away. I have probably the next two guys coming in as Christian Williams and Josh Landry. I think are probably my guess for the next two guys that will come in at defensive tackle. Both of those guys are transfers. Christian Williams is transferring from Oregon. And again, Oregon was a great defense last year, and so he just wasn't seeing the field a ton. But I've heard really good things about him at camp this year, and so I think he will definitely make a difference. And then Josh Landry, similar thing. He's kind of played reserve snaps for Baylor last year, and maybe just looking for a little bit better opportunity. I'll throw out a couple names. Marquise Graysill is a true freshman. He talk about measurables. He is definitely SEC ready size wise. Again, I don't think he's going to come in and do a Mekhi Wingo, but yeah, I think you just must have seen how much he weighs.
He's 6'4", 328, according to the official roster.
Yeah, he's a monster. So I would be excited about Graysill for sure. Don't know if it's going to happen, if he's going to put it all together this year, but he is going to be a force to be reckoned with in the coming years for sure. Realist George, he'll be in there, and then kind of even farther down the line, I've got Ian Matthews, who is I think redshirt freshman from Auburn, transferred from Auburn, and then Jalen Marshall is a true freshman from the Kansas City area, I think. So.
I see, Coach Drink has been talking about how the depth is better this year. They're just, guys are more interchangeable. They're not having to worry about guys needing a break. It's just next man up.
Right.
We've heard that all off season.
Right.
And it makes sense now that we're breaking down the roster.
Right, exactly. And if you're just taking talent-wise, Kobe Whiteside and, who's Byers. If you're just putting those guys into the lineup, with this lineup, I don't know if either one of those guys are starting within this group, and that's a good thing.
Right.
And so I think just we've kind of exchanged the new guard, and I'm excited about with its defensive line. I think it's just going to look totally different than it did last year.
I'm ready for it. Okay, let's move on to linebackers. Lost Blaze Aldridge. He was kind of in the doghouse of the fans, at least, and I think potentially the coaches at some point too last year. But he was just kind of right there along with everybody else, just looking lost at times. I think that was the defensive line and the linebackers especially. It took forever for them to figure things out and figure out what was going on. But he ended up having an okay season. I think for me personally, I was more excited about him as the, two-time all-conference player at Rice, and I had high hopes for him, and I don't think he quite delivered, but that was potentially on me a little bit, making too much of those all-conference nods potentially.
Yeah, it just shows the difficulty of learning a new scheme, and he got to campus I think right there in June, and so trying to learn a scheme in 2 months and making a jump from Rice to the SEC is large. So we saw that right away that he looked a little lost, but had his moments.
So we are, and then we mentioned earlier, Devin Nicholson played quite a bit last year, but basically lost his spot to Chad Bailey.
Yeah, played a lot of snaps for Missouri in his career, but just, he was not getting it done last year.
But he's not done either.
No,
I mean,
I still think he's probably the third guy in there.
Yeah. But the number one guy is the transfer from Florida, Tyron Hopper. And I wanted to mention an article by the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Let me see who wrote this. Callum McAndrews for the Post-Dispatch. He talked about Hopper and the linebackers, and I just wanted to mention a couple quotes from the coaching staff talking about Hopper. Let's see here. If you listened to Coach Drinkwitz's press conference recently, he was talking about the fact that they basically have to force him to be non-contact in drills and practices and stuff. The non-contact green jersey, they have to basically force him to wear that because he's too aggressive and they don't want him to get hurt in practice. So that was interesting. Linebackers coach DJ Smith said he's a really good player. He's an outstanding young man, a tremendous worker. He said, I have had to slow him down at times. He's up here all hours of the night working out or watching film.
I'd like to hear that.
Let's see. There's another quote I was trying to pull here. It's Coach Drink again talking about how they've had to limit his contact. He said he's a kind of a contact player even when he's not supposed to be. And
the man likes to hit people.
Coach Baker said, quote, I'm glad we got him. He's a dude now with a capital D. That guy can play. He's physical. He can run. He's smart. He's the real deal. So just across the board, every coach raving about him.
Yeah, man. He is super athletic. He's just what you want in a linebacker. Super physical, clearly, by all of those quotes.
Mm-hmm.
If he hits his ceiling, I think he's got the chance to be the best player on the defense. And that's saying something because we got some dudes on the defense that, have been in the program for a long time. And, Missouri got a front row seat at Hopper last year because he had 12 tackles against us when he was playing for Florida last year. And he's all over the place. And he's really impressive. I'm super excited about him and could totally just be kind of the anchor of the defense.
And he'll be lining up next to Chad Bailey, who came on strong at the end of last season, was really impressive.
Yeah.
And Nicholson right behind them. And then potentially Chuck Hicks, the Wyoming transfer.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. There's just kind of a few names. I think Chuck Hicks he's a little older, a little more experienced, so I think he probably would be the fourth guy. But some younger guys that I really like, Damian Wilson. He's an exciting inside linebacker that I think could be kind of running the show maybe a year or two from now. And then there's two true freshmen that I really like, and I think one of them will probably play a decent amount and could shed the shirt, they say. But both those guys are Xavier Simmons, who flipped from Virginia Tech, and then Carmicah Glass, who is kind of like one of those just super under the radar guys that they didn't want to blow up, and just has like, he's just a freak. He just has insane measurables, and he's like 6'4", 230, long arms, just has the potential to be insane. So I think Glass is probably would be my guess. If he's able to come in and pick up the scheme, I think he could play right away.
I'm getting excited for the season.
I know, man.
I think I've been talking in Discord and stuff about, we haven't revealed our predictions as far as the record and picking the games and everything. We'll do that next week. But I was worried that some parts of the, of course, we're over here trying to, temper expectations and be, reasonably optimistic and all that sort of thing. But the defense especially is raising my optimism and expectations a little bit in a way that I didn't quite expect.
No, the defense is making me happy, making me smile for sure. And there's always optimism going into any season ever. It's like, well, maybe it's a little better than we think it could be. Even when the team's going to be bad, you're just like, well, never know. I really think this defense has a potential to be not only good, but like really exciting, like fun and like aggressive and like causing turnovers. And I don't know.
That worries me. I don't like being this optimistic.
You don't like that?
Yeah. I want to just think everything's going to be terrible. And then when it isn't? Yes, when it's not,
you're
then
happy?
Yes, exactly.
That's usually how I approach most situations in life, and it works out. But I think it's okay to get a little excited.
Okay.
I think we can do it.
All right. Next up, safeties. The only big departure I have as far as contributors last season is Sean Robinson.
Yeah, like the hype's not slowing down here with the secondary at all.
Sean Robinson is out, but and included with safeties here is the hybrid safety linebacker position that they're calling star. We could start there. I mean, we've got Martez Manuel coming back, senior year.
Yep.
Time to lay it all out there. Yep. So many seniors will be starting on this defense.
Yeah, it's an old, experienced defense for sure. I say old, that sounds weird, but yeah it's experienced defense.
And then backing him up, I think we'll have Dalen Carnell.
Yep.
So a pretty highly touted prospect who has, hasn't been on the field much, but redshirt freshman
He will be.
Has the ability, has the talent.
Yep. Had like 2 interceptions in the spring game, I think.
Yeah, he did. So, I mean, that's a strength right there. I can't wait to see the plays that Martez Manuel will make. He'll be in the backfield making plays, stuffing the run at the line of scrimmage, and then probably have an interception or 2 on the season.
Right, yeah. The star position is, I love kind of the 4-2-5 setup. Especially if your strength is a secondary, just lean into it, and I think that's what Mizzou has. And, I mean, Martez Manuel is just such a perfect candidate to play that position because it literally is just like kind of perfectly in between a safety and a linebacker. So it's a guy that kind of has to be able to do everything. He has to play in coverage, but he, like you said, he'll be up there in the box. He'll probably have a few sacks this year and that kind of stuff. So he's truly just somebody that has to be versatile and is going to be all over the place. And I think Martez Manuel is perfect for that. Kind of the vocal leader of the defense, has been around the block,
has the trust of the coaches. Yeah. And he's a perfect guy for Carnell to learn from as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because Carnell's going to be in that role next year, and he's going to be the guy. So he's got to be ready.
The other 2 starting safety spots, I guess I have Jalen Carlisle, of course, and then I've got the transfer from Clemson, Joseph Charleston.
Yep, that's what I've got as well. And I'm a huge Carlisle fan. I loved him coming in. Again, I feel like this is a common theme of this defense, I think, is just like these guys are just freak athletes. So we've recruited well, and I think we're kind of seeing that pay dividends at this point where, man, these guys are just I don't know. This isn't some random no-star defense guy that we took a flyer on. These guys are established in the recruiting game, have a history of being great, have shown to be great at times at the college level, and have the measurables to back it up. And that's definitely what Jalen Carlisle is. Big physical safety. I think he played wide receiver in high school. So, he will go up and grab the ball and make and high point those 50-50 balls, and he will pick you off for sure. And just kind of the general of the back end of the defense. And I've heard amazing things about Joseph Charleston. I'm really excited about him. Got on the field early at Clemson and was playing really well there. It sounds like he maybe kind of had his job taken at Clemson by just, some insanely high prospect that Clemson has like they do, but not really anything that he could do much about. But I think he is a really solid contributor. And I think Mizzou really hit on some of these transfers, man, like Hopper, Charleston, and then we're going to talk about Norwood here in a little bit. They really hit.
Jernigan.
Yep.
Yeah.
They really hit on a couple of these impact transfers, and Charleston is going to be playing a lot.
You were talking about the just the physical attributes on some of these guys, and that's what some of these SEC schools have year in, year out.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about like Florida, like their defenses. It's just so ridiculous.
It is.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's the thing about that does kind of suck about this is like this feels like, and I don't want to go too crazy here, but this feels like one of those defenses where if everybody's healthy and everybody's rowing the boat the same way, it could be one of those stars aligning kind of years where they're just really, really good. But the thing is, though, if you lose a few guys to injuries and stuff, like the depth starts dropping off a little faster than it does at some of those other schools.
And you can't predict, just the issues that they had last year. Like nobody saw that coming as far as like having okay talent, but then just falling apart on the execution. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's not going to happen again to that extent because that's just a ridiculous outlier.
I agree.
But I'm just like mentally like sitting on the fence between like going all in on getting super hyped for this defense and like, also being like, well, just last year was historically bad.
Exactly. I think, just we're so starved for improvement, which we're definitely going to get that. But it's still like, I don't know if I want to go all in until I see it happen, When the bullets are flying, I just, you want to see those guys perform. But in the spring game, Charleston picked off, I can't remember who threw it, but he was going for a 50-50 ball with Luther Burden and came down with it. So he, like Carlisle, has the ability to go out there and pull down the 50-50 balls.
Okay, then behind them, Jelani Williams is there, ready to contribute. Who else do we have?
After Jelani Williams, like it's definitely pretty much gets to those young guys. Jamarion Wayne just switched over to safety from wide receiver. He's definitely in that Carlisle build, like big athletic guy, but this is not a position he's ever played before. Sounds like he's learning it well.
Coaches are saying that he's doing a good job.
Yeah, but I would hope that we don't see a lot of him this year, and if that's a position that he stays in going forward, then he could be really good down the road. And then of course we got Isaac Thompson, who same thing, a recruiting pedigree, really talented. Hopefully we don't see a whole lot of him this year, other than maybe special teams. He's coming off an ACL, so probably not the worst thing ever if he doesn't play a whole lot this year. Yeah,
I mean, if we don't need those guys to contribute much, we'll be better for it. Okay, moving on to the cornerbacks. Some significant departures here. Caleb Evans maybe didn't quite live up to the hype, and that's been a little bit of a trend. Talking about last year's defense, and his teammate from Tulsa, Allie Green, both graduated, moved on. Caleb Evans in the NFL for the Vikings, actually.
Fourth round pick.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he's a lock to make the roster and been making some plays in the preseason. Caleb Evans was an interesting player last year because he started off strong. I think like maybe the first series against Central Michigan had an interception, and then I don't know if he was, got a little bit banged up over the course of the year or kind of had his sights set on the NFL, but seemed like started off strong, just kind of
was there.
Yeah, but that's kind of what you want sometimes from your cornerbacks. If you're not talking about them too much, maybe they're not making explosive plays, but they're not giving up explosive plays either.
Yeah.
But we have returning Chris Abrams-Drain, who is being talked about as like maybe one of the top NFL prospects from defensive backs all across the country,
right?
Which is incredible to hear.
Yeah.
And Ennis Rakestraw, I think, will start opposite him, coming back from injury. A recruit that was a huge get early for Drinkwitz, and a guy who saw the field early, and I think he'll continue. But I think maybe not so much Chris Abrams-Drain, but I think Rakestraw could be pushed a little bit. I mean, we saw DJ Jackson last year play quite a bit in his stead, and then you mentioned transfer from Texas A&M, Drayden Norwood. Are those the four guys probably rotating in and out most at cornerback?
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully we probably won't see really anyone outside of that group of four, but I agree with you. I had Ennis Rakestraw as the other starter, opposite Chris Abrams-Drain as well. But it's interesting. Chris Abrams-Drain came in again as a wide receiver, was like returning punts early in his career at Missouri. Just kind of was super fast guy that was kind of wiry and just kind of get the ball in his hand and see what happens kind of guy. And they kind of just needed some depth on the other side of the ball, and so he was playing in the secondary, played some safeties, played a little corner. But it's just amazing to see what he's become, and just having those ball skills I think is so important, because he's so aggressive too. I mean, he's like Marcus Peters light out there, just like jumping routes, and it's like kind of risking it all, where he's like, I'm gonna jump this route, and if I get burned, I get burned, but I'm gonna, if you underthrow it, I'm catching it. And he did that multiple times, had some really big plays, had some like one in particular where just falling out of bounds and just had a toe inbounds and was able to bring it down. So I agree with you. I think he has the potential to be a first or second round draft pick, which is insane to think about, like where he was just 2 or 3 years ago. Has a crazy ceiling, really athletic, and is just an exciting player to watch. Just makes those big plays happen. And if he continues at that trajectory, kind of makes some big plays this year, could be one of the first 5 or 6 cornerbacks off the board.
I feel like he picks his spots pretty well. I mean, for as aggressive as he is, he's pretty smart with it.
Oh yeah, yeah. He tracks the ball really well, and he is pretty smart.
You think Norwood plays a lot?
I think so. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they kind of rotate him, because I genuinely do think this is a situation where you take one of those 2 starters out and you don't have a big drop off. DJ Jackson is going to be potentially that Chris Abrams-Drain that we're talking about here in a year or two. I think he's potentially that good. Was really, really good as a true freshman last year. Don't see that a whole lot. Had his moments for sure. Had some rookie moments. And I mean, he had one in particular I'm thinking of though is he kind of got burned by Traylon Burks, but who didn't last year? Burks is a tremendous NFL receiver now. So DJ Jackson's really good, and then I've heard great things about Norwood. I think they're not going to be able to keep him off the field either. So sounds like a great group of 4 this year, and then we're kind of set up for the future as well. And I'd probably even throw LJ Hewitt in there as well. Maybe that's the 5th guy. He was a JUCO transfer, I think. So yeah, good group there.
And Rakestraw, Jackson, and Norwood all have 3 plus. At least 3 years of eligibility remaining.
So. Yeah, all really young guys.
Okay, so I feel like there's so much balance across this defense.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to rank the position groups, but I'm struggling just to come up with it.
I feel like normally with this kind of thing, I'll start with like the weakest.
Yeah.
And I still don't even know where to start with that. Like every group kind of has like an alpha, like an experienced leader, and it's really exciting.
I think I would have to maybe put the defensive ends last, just because we haven't seen the production consistently. As far as like potential, they might be number 1. Yeah. But we just haven't quite seen it yet. That's what is making this so difficult.
Right. I think, I don't know that I could like disagree with you too terribly there. I think I would list, I think I'm going to throw linebacker last.
Okay.
Just because we haven't seen Hopper play in a Mizzou uniform. Chad Bailey has only really played half a season. And if the wheels are going to come off any of these groups, I guess I would pick linebacker, which I definitely don't think that is going to happen. And I just don't think the depth is as good. If we have an injury to those two guys, I'm getting a little concerned at that point.
Yeah. I'm changing what I said. I agree with you. Linebackers 5th. Then who you got 4th?
I'll probably go defensive tackle 4th. It's an interesting group because you kind of have got some solid guys who none of them have been like spectacular at the college level. They've except for I guess Jernigan's been pretty good, but Christian Williams, Josh Landry, Darius Robinson, a lot of their careers have been played in reserve, but have shown whenever they get a chance they've been really good. Mm-hmm. So I still think that's a super solid group, but I think I'd probably sneak it in there in 4th.
I'm probably going end 4th, tackle 3rd.
Yeah, and then I'd probably do defensive end 3rd, or whatever's next.
Yeah, 3rd. Then 2nd, I guess
you're doing safety and star together?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going corner 2nd, even though potentially the best player in the entire defense is Chris Abrams-Drain.
Right.
Still a lot of youth and Rakestraw coming off injury.
Yeah.
Little uncertain there.
Yeah.
And then I'm going safety number 1. Just, I think the combination of depth and experience and talent, I think safety's number 1.
I'm with you. Yep. Cornerback, I think I'd go 2 as well. Maybe the group of guys with the highest ceiling, like you said, Chris Abrams-Drain could be the best and most exciting player in the defense. But overall, I think safety in that star position, man, that's a really, really solid group.
Not much.
That was genuinely really hard to do.
Not much separating these groups.
Yeah. That was not like last week where it was like I think tight end is probably probably last.
Yeah.
It was
a position that's not done anything ever.
Yes, none of that this week.
Yeah, I mean the defensive backfield, I think, is clearly a step above everything else.
Yeah.
But
on the whole team, too, like just in general. Yeah, I agree.
Ooh, okay. There's a lot of optimism now at that defense.
We've done
on
it.
The defense.
We've done it now.
I've worked through it live on air the last 2 weeks. Before we do our 7-on-7 draft, we want to talk about special teams and hashtag Mavis for Heisman.
Yes.
Get it trending.
Get it trending.
We have the power to make that happen.
Like 45 minutes into a random podcast episode.
Yeah. He is incredible.
Yep.
He's back. He's going to do it again. I still wish they just never would have attempted a field goal in the Georgia game last year.
Is that when he missed one?
Yes.
We needed it, man. We could have used those 3 points.
Yeah. It almost made
Remember when we were beating Georgia?
For like 7 minutes or something?
Maybe not even that, but we were winning at the beginning of that game.
Was it 3-0?
I think so. That might have been the only 3 points we scored. I don't know. Can't remember.
So he'll be back doing his thing. Not much to cover there. He's incredible.
Yep.
But
we have a very serious punting battle.
There is a battle for starting punter.
Scrum.
Between Sean Keating, Jack Stonehouse, and Luke Bauer. And Coach Drink says 2 of those guys, he didn't name the 2, have separated themselves.
Do you think the third guy, like if he read that, he'd probably be like,
he knows it's
like
him.
He knows he's the third that's like on the outside looking in.
Probably.
Yeah.
But we don't know which one's the third one.
No, we don't.
It's not Sean Keating, I think.
He's the favorite.
Yeah, he's in the final 2.
I agree.
I
think it'll probably be him. He's the place kicker, I guess. The guy that kicks it into the end zone every single time on the kickoff.
Yeah.
And he's been doing that for several years now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he came back for another year. I think there's a pretty good chance that he gets that punting job if he's anywhere near the best.
Oh yeah, let him have it.
Let him have it.
If he shanks a few, put the other guy in.
What'd you say about his picture earlier? We were looking at some of the pictures on the roster of guys. He looks like he could win like a PGA championship or something.
I said if you told me that he was just by looking at his picture on the roster website, if you told me that he was scored like under par in the first round as an amateur in the U.S. Open, I'd be like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like somebody you've never heard of, and like, oh, they're doing pretty good for an amateur.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
Give me your breakout player for the defense. And honestly, it doesn't really matter how you define this. Like, it could be some dude that hasn't played much that's going to come on this year, or it could just be somebody that's played but is going to vastly improve this year. Because I'm pretty sure last year for my offensive breakout player of the year, I picked like Tyler Beatty, like, which definitely was right, but he had already played some. So however you want to define breakout player, that's fine.
You nailed it there. I think it's tough because like we're basically picking between transfers who are expected to show up,
right,
and guys that we know have it in them already.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was thinking.
So I'm kind of leaning towards Charleston, the transfer from Clemson at safety. And I'm thinking I think he's just going to be incredibly solid and dependable all year long.
Yeah.
Maybe not the flashiest guy. I think he'll leave some of the highlight reel plays up to Jalen Carlisle and Martez Manuel. But I think he'll just be solid, and you just won't have to worry about him. And then I think I really like Isaiah McGuire to make the big kind of headline-grabbing plays.
Yep. I'm with you. I was going to say Isaiah McGuire. He's going to start. He's going to have a lot of opportunity this year. I don't know. He's been around for a long time, has made plays at times, was really solid at times last year, despite everything that was going on. I think McGuire's going to be awesome.
We don't need Jeffcoat and McGuire to both be just absolutely incredible all the time.
Right.
If they're both solid, then that'll put pressure on the defense to where one of them will be able to make a play.
Right. Yeah, and I almost feel like, Jeffcoat has the ceiling as far as a pass rusher goes. I think, if I'm picking the guy who's going to have the most sacks at the end of the year, I'm picking Jeffcoat. But I just think McGuire is the most versatile at the position. I think he is so, he can stop the run and rush the passer really well. It's just set the edge. I think I've even seen him like in coverage at times. Like he can just get out in space too. Like for a big guy, he's really talented, and I'm excited to see what those guys do, especially McGuire.
I feel like there's 5 other players I could mention.
You could probably pick that for anybody.
I'm super excited for Hopper.
I just hope, me too. I just hope that, this is what it feels like from now on with, stacking multiple recruiting classes on top of each other. And I don't want to go too deep in this because I know we'll talk about it maybe in the next week or two, but just when we're kind of talking about what our expectations for the season. But this just has to be what we're doing every year, like talking about every position group having kind of a leader, a guy that's experienced, a guy that has a high ceiling, some young guys that are coming in, like that are giving us hope for the future. Like this is SEC football, and it's so exciting. And I have not been this excited about a defense in a long time. And I don't, again, I hope we're not setting ourselves up here for disappointment, but I really don't think we are. I'm excited.
I'm with you. All right, now we are going to play a little 7-on-7 ball. We're going to draft teams in the style of the old video game NFL Street. So if you haven't listened to this segment before, we do it every year. It's 7-on-7 football, but our rosters have to play both sides of the ball. So you're going to have a quarterback, but that quarterback has to play defense as well. And we leave it up to the listeners and the Twitter followers to tell us which team would win in a hypothetical 7-on-7 game. And producer Cameron, do you have a digital coin that you can flip inside your computer?
Well, digital, yes, on my computer now.
Oh,
my
it's on
watch
his
has a flip a coin feature, so
Incredible.
Who would like to call it?
That's amazing.
You call it.
Give me heads.
Alrighty, and it is heads.
Do you want the first pick or do you want to defer?
Oh man. So if I give it up, you've got one pick, and then I take the next two, and then we kind of snake draft from there.
Yeah.
I'll give it up. Congratulations.
Wow.
Congratulations with the number 1 pick in the 7-on-7 draft. I got to do it. Welcome to the squad, Luther Burden.
That's understandable. So you're just gonna lock up that wide receiver spot, or you got so. I guess you can kind of break it down however you want here, but you're probably going for 2 wide receivers, running back, quarterback, and then 3 offensive linemen. Is that?
As far as like what your offense looks like?
Yes.
Regardless of what position they play in real life?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what you're drafting for. Okay, so you don't go for a quarterback. Went for Luther Burden. I'm going to go for Chris Abrams-Drain. He's going to play wide receiver and cornerback.
Yeah. That's going to be a incredible matchup. Those 2 guys are going to go at it.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to cover your defensive back when he's playing wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to waste a defensive back on him. I'm going to put Luther Burden on him.
Right. And so the defense is, you have maybe a little bit more flexibility with what you want to do on the defense. I'm probably going to go 3 defensive linemen, 2 cornerbacks, like a linebacker and a safety, or you can maybe do 2 linebackers or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways you can go with the lines here. I think I'll just this might be a little bit of a more boring pick, I guess, but I'm gonna get a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, and go with Isaiah McGuire.
Good choice. Okay, so now I get 2 picks back to back. And what am I feeling here? I think I'm going to go defense, since you took 2 defensive players. I don't want it to dry up completely. I'm going to go ahead and grab Tyron Hopper. He might have to play a little tight end for me on offense. Hopefully he's got good hands. And then talk about a boring pick. I think I'm going to go with an actual offensive lineman. I'm going to grab Javon Foster.
Wow, you're really trying to lock up the left side of that line.
You know, somebody's got to protect the quarterback, whoever he may be.
That's true. Are you worried at all about his defensive line play?
You know, he's just going to bull rush, play nose tackle basically, and he'll try to overpower Isaiah McGuire.
Okay.
I'm not confident in McGuire's blocking abilities for your team.
That's fair. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and lock up my other wide receiver cornerback, and that's going to be Jalen Carlisle. So I still need a couple linemen. I need a running back that will probably also play linebacker, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I need a quarterback that will also play safety or linebacker. I think I'll just grab my quarterback before you can snag him.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go Tyler Macon. And just because I think he can run and pass pretty well. I think he's pretty versatile at the quarterback position, but I also think that he could probably play linebacker or safety better than like a Brady Cook or a Sam Horn. So I'm kind of going with the well-rounded athlete play for quarterback.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Now you're thinking running back?
That's probably where I got to go next, yep.
Okay, my turn then?
That is your turn.
Okay, so I can wait on quarterback now. Kyle's not going to take 2 quarterbacks.
That would be pretty devastating if I did.
Would it be devastating for your team? Probably.
Potentially. I don't know. Not Tyler. Brady Cook could probably play running back. He's fast.
Yeah, potentially. Okay, I gotta think here. I've got a blocker. I've got a defender. I've got a receiver. This is a little unorthodox. I'm tempted to do something. I'm tempted to get a little squirrely here.
Oh.
I'm not going to do it, though. I'm going to grab Rakestraw.
I like it.
So we'll have Rakestraw and Luther Burden on the outside. And I've got Hopper and Foster, and I'm going to draft Elijah Young. I've lost track of what position everybody's going to play on either side of the ball, but I'm taking him.
Okay. Get a little speed in the backfield.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it.
Versatility on defense, I think, a little bit there. Probably play safety for me.
Yeah. I'm interested in Martez Manuel just because I've got a kind of a safety position open. But I think at this point I'm going to opt for kind of a more traditional running back who's going to also play linebacker. And that's going to be Michael Cox.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I think he's kind of a bruiser. Good linebacker. So that means Tyler Macon will be playing safety. And then, of course, he'll play running back as well. So that means I have one more pick and 2 more total.
Mm-hmm.
But both of my last picks are going to be linemen. I'm going to lock up Jaden Jernigan.
Okay, so I get to finish out my roster here, and I still need a quarterback, so I'm going to go ahead and get Brady Cook.
Where's he playing on defense?
Somewhere.
We'll see.
We're gonna.
He'll show us.
Yeah, we'll get creative with it. It'll be on the graphic that we tweet out. And then I'm missing something. Okay, outside. Looks like I need another lineman. So welcome aboard, Trajan Jeffcoat.
Good pick. That's where I was going next for sure. I feel like every year there's like a couple of those picks where I'm like, do I want to pick the player who would probably be the best for this very specific 7-on-7 situation, or do I want to pick the crowd favorite who's going to get the votes on Twitter?
I've been going pretty much crowd favorite this whole time.
Yeah, because this scenario is definitely not happening in real life, so I might as well go for the big names, right?
We might be able to set up the game.
Yeah, we'll see if somebody will do it. So, is your squad finished?
Yep,
I've got one more pick to make.
To finish it off, yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
You don't have an actual wide receiver on your team.
No, I don't. I have 2 guys that played wide receiver in high school.
Okay.
Maybe you should think about that.
What do you mean?
I'm just saying, maybe you should think about that.
No, I get your reasoning. I don't know if I don't know if the folks will.
They'll be great at cornerback, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Give me Darius Robinson, who will play defensive lineman and offensive lineman.
All right. So I've got Luther Burden, Tyron Hopper, Javon Foster, Ennis Rakestraw, Elijah Young, Brady Cook, and Trajan Jeffcoat.
I've got Chris Abrams-Drain, Isaiah McGuire, Tyler Macon, Michael Cox, Jaden Jernigan, Jalen Carlisle, and Darius Robinson.
So we will assemble these players onto the formations, and producer Cameron will have a nice, pretty graphic for us. We'll tweet it out.
Clash of the Titans right here.
And you can let us know. We'll do a poll, and
I think I'm doing pretty good in those polls historically, right?
I didn't want to even talk about it.
Well, we have to.
It taints it. It taints the poll because now I'm just completely in my head about this, but I feel like
There's probably like 4 people that are listening to us say this right now.
the 4 people that are listening to this are going to vote against me intentionally just to keep the thing going where you win all the polls.
They'll feel bad for you and overcompensate.
I don't think they feel bad for me. I think they think it's funny.
No.
All 4 of them.
No.
Well, Producer Cameron, would you think it's funny or would you feel bad for me if Kyle wins every poll always?
I think it's funny.
Exactly. Even with his no wide receiver roster.
That's ridiculous. Who was it?
They're athletes.
Tell me, who were you guys talking about last week that was going to lead the wide receivers?
Dominic Lovett.
Yeah, you don't even pick them on your roster. So
That's what I was
You
about
didn't
to
pick
do.
a wide receiver at all.
You don't even pick the wide because the wide receiver room. You said you don't even. They're not that good.
Oh my god.
No, we're not even gonna have a wide receiver over 500 yards. You said.
Oh my god.
That is not even close to what I said. I almost picked.
He's a Luther Burden hater, and then he picks him on his team. He's a fraud.
True.
He just wants the votes.
True.
He just wants the star power on his team. He's
See,
a fraud.
According to Cam, 2 other wide receivers are going to have a better season.
He's fraudulent. He's more fraudulent than Dan Mullen. Actually, I take that back.
That's an intense insult right there.
I'm really sorry. I didn't mean that.
I almost picked Dominic Lovett over Rakestraw, and I almost just like countered your 2 defensive backs with 2 wide receivers.
Now that would be interesting.
I couldn't do it. All right, we'll tweet out the graphic, and I'll lose, and everything will be right with the world.
No. It'll be. It's always fairly close.
Yeah.
It's always close.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that all for this week?
That's surely it.
Next week we're going down the entire schedule, picking every game.
We got 2 more episodes until we see kickoff.
Yeah, we get to see my favorite player in the history of football, Luther Burden, take the field. He might go for 500 in the first game.
He might.
Oh my God.
In the first quarter.
All-purpose yards. I mean, you know. All right. What do we say now? Special thank you to our Patreon supporters at the $10 level and above: Britt Treese, Brian Smith, Ryan DeMore, Tristan, Ben Smith, Parker, Daddy JD, Luis Hernandez, Tim Keynes, Tyler Harsel, Brandon Garofalo, Brandon Hanks. And if you sign up, you'll be the last name read on the list.
Did you do it alphabetically or just in the order?
In the order that they signed up.
Cool. Thank you guys very much. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. We're on Twitter at Mizzou Sports Pod, and you can email us at MissouriSportsPod@gmail.com.
You can find our t-shirts and stickers on our online shop, MissouriSportsPod.BigCartel.com.
Thank you everyone for listening. We will see you next week. Vote for me. Vote for me in the poll.
Vote for Pedro.
Please vote for me.